Hello everyone, my name is Skylar McGough, and today I'm going to be giving you my persuasive speech. Did you know that there's an average of 40.3 million people who are enslaved in human trafficking? That is according to the stopthetraffic.org. Think about that for a second. 40.3 million people who are individuals who are enslaved in human trafficking. People think that it only happens to females, but it actually 29% of males/boys are actually part of this 40.3 million people as well. And that 29% of victims comes from the traffic.org website. Knowing this means that more must be done to eradicate human trafficking. It happens every day, right in front of us, right in our own backyards, and sometimes to personal ones who we actually love and who we see as our family, friends, or loved ones. To help eradicate human trafficking, more must be done. To start, I believe that we have to understand and know the red flags of human trafficking. That's where it starts. According to the Human Rights Commission, we see that there are 3 forms of human trafficking. 3 forms of human trafficking include espionage, sex trafficking, and forced labor, and that comes from the Human Rights Commission. The article, What is Human Trafficking? By HRC explains an example of sex trafficking where a 15-year-old boy is captured, kidnapped, and taken for imprisonment and taken to be used. This 15-year-old boy is used to be a sex slave and is in this process called a prostitution ring where he is then used for profit. The HRC, the Human Rights Commission, also explains that forced labor is when individuals are forced to do any work against their own will. It explains that sex trafficking is when individuals are used for sexual commercial activity against their own will and used in sexual acts against what they actually want. And it also explains that espionage is when human trafficking is a form of human trafficking where individuals are forced to do work and they are forced to do labor, hard work to pay off a debt of some form. Understanding the red flags. Understanding the red flags of human trafficking is the #1 way that we can start by becoming more aware and that we can help to eradicate human trafficking. From the article, How Can You Help End Human Trafficking? Written by Melissa Withers, she explains all the red flags, which are included, unusual work restrictions, excessively long hours, huge amounts of anxiety and depression, scaredness and fear when law enforcement is involved, offers scripted stories when abuse arises, they're not allowed to speak for themselves, as you can see down here, and shows poor hygiene. Those are all red flags just for the basis of human trafficking. Now, as we get into 3 specific different types, we get a little more specific of what each of those require and what each of those have for their red flags. Trafficking happens so close to us that half of us can't even see when it happens. I know loved ones and I know personal ones who have been a part of human trafficking when at the time I had no idea it was even happening, and it's so sad and it's so scary to actually realize. But now that we understand a little bit more about human trafficking, we're allowed to raise awareness for human trafficking. Raising awareness for human trafficking is the next step that we can take in order to eradicate human trafficking and to do more to put an end to human trafficking. From the article, 20 Ways You Can Help Fight Human Trafficking, written by the U.S. Department of State, we see that raising awareness should be one of the first steps that you take in order to eradicate human trafficking. Volunteering, hosting awareness events, fundraising, joining community circles, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, there's all sorts of chats and all sorts of different fundraising programs on all those sources. The U.S. Department of State also recommends becoming a mentor to young people. A lot of times, human trafficking happens to those who are going through a rough time, and that's who traffickers often target, those are the ones who usually are going through something or are usually going through a difficult time in their life, or they already struggle with anxiety and depression. Usually, mentally, those people are a little bit more not focused, so those are the times that human traffickers will tend to go for those people because they will be able to traffic them easier, they believe. But understanding all of this, the red flags, that we can become more aware, that there is more that we can actually do, it allows us to raise awareness actually for human trafficking, which is amazing. From the article, Raise Awareness from the Human Trafficking Search, we realize that spreading the word does so much more than just actually putting it out there. Telling beyond our friends and our family, going beyond and posting on social media about how we feel, and telling our coworkers and telling our just teammates and coworkers and bosses and everybody how we feel about human trafficking not only shows who you are as a person, but actually shows that you care about this matter and that you care about human trafficking more than a lot of people might make it seem. It allows you to express your feelings. It allows you to post on social media freely. You have your own word and you can say whatever you want about human trafficking. So human trafficking as an industry, financially, human trafficking is the second highest income industry for criminals. According to the article, according to recent human trafficking statistics, the International Labor Organization, the ILO, explains that $150 billion is generated annually from human trafficking alone. Think about that just for a minute. $150 billion is created through human trafficking every single year, and that number is only rising. The profit from human traffics and victims is only rising. That is not fair. This study also shows that about $21,800 is taken and is profited off of each victim every single year. So think about those 40.3 billion victims nationwide. Now think about the $21,800 per victim per year. That is an insane amount of money that is going for literally the worst cause in our planet. Let that sink in for a minute. Think about what those numbers actually mean. 40.3 million victims, $150 billion generated annually, $21,800 per victim generated per year. Let that sink in. In Melissa Wither's article, How Can You Help End Human Trafficking?, she explains that raising money for awareness clubs and communities is one of the best ways that we can do, and that we can start by helping to financially support human trafficking. Not only funding, but also mentally supporting human trafficking, and not supporting it, but supporting the growth and the end to human trafficking is what financially we can do to help stop it. So just to wrap everything up, not only does human trafficking break my heart just to see these countless and countless victims just getting money profited off them, but it also hurts our country, and it hurts all of us as a people. Thinking about how close human trafficking happens to us in our own backyard that we don't even know it is so scary to think about. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people suffer every single year from human trafficking, and the number is only rising. Becoming more aware allows us to prevent human trafficking. Becoming more aware, knowing the red flags, and financially supporting only allows us to take one step closer to eradicating human trafficking. It allows us to take one big step to putting an end to human trafficking and putting an end to these countless and countless and countless of victims who suffer from human trafficking, and putting an end to these countless and thousands of scammers and human traffickers who are generating profit off of these victims. That's what this does. That puts an end to that. We must do more to eradicate human trafficking. It only starts with us, and from here on out, it's a decision that you make, it's a decision that I make, and it's a decision that we make as a community to depend on how our human trafficking in our world goes. The traffickers can't help themselves when they are forced to do things against their own will. But when we have the opportunity to rise and to help eradicate human trafficking, we should take that step. We should know the red flags. We should understand human trafficking more than a lot of us think we do. We should become more aware. We should speak out. If you see something, then you should always say something. And lastly, we should financially support that. We should financially support to eradicate human trafficking. I want to thank you all for your time today. Thank you for watching my speech. I hope you learned something today. I hope that you're able to take something from my speech and learn and just be able to take that next step just to help eradicate human trafficking. Thank you. I hope you have a great night.